There is a profound psychological truth that often goes unnoticed, a subtle principle of human emotion that quietly shapes desire and attachment. Absence amplifies value. It is not a matter of manipulation or strategy, but of understanding how the human heart responds when it is met with scarcity, with space, with the quiet reminder that what we seek is not always immediately within reach. Men, like all humans, are drawn not only to what is present, but also to what is slightly beyond grasp, to what lingers on the edges of perception. When a woman embodies a presence that is steady yet not clinging, when she allows herself to be fully alive without being constantly available, she creates a magnetism that cannot be manufactured or forced. The power of absence is rooted in perception. When someone is always there, always accessible, the mind begins to take them for granted. Familiarity breeds a subtle complacency, a quiet erosion of appreciation. What was once captivating begins to fade into background noise. But when a woman cultivates her life independently, when her attention is not consumed by the need to be constantly seen or validated, she becomes rarer in the eyes of those who observe her. Scarcity, in this sense, does not mean deprivation or cruelty. It means that her energy, her time, her presence are consciously aligned with her own inner world. And it is this alignment that creates a kind of magnetic pull, an invisible thread that tugs at the male psyche. Men are wired, often unconsciously, to notice what they cannot always have. This is not a game, and it is not about ego. It is about the natural rhythm of attention and desire. When a woman disappears briefly from his immediate orbit, when she allows herself to step back into her own life, her own projects, her own emotional equilibrium, he is given the space to reflect, to realize, and to value. Absence is the mirror in which he begins to see her worth more clearly. It is in these moments of separation that memories sharpen, that small details become luminous, that her laughter, her insight, her warmth take on new significance. The human mind, when faced with absence, does what it cannot. When presence is constant, it fills the gaps with longing, imagination, and recognition. This principle is especially powerful because it works on multiple levels simultaneously. On one level, there is the immediate emotional response. He notices the void, the space where her energy once occupied, and feels a subtle sense of yearning. On a deeper level, absence touches on unconscious patterns. It awakens the part of him that is attuned to challenge, to pursuit, to the satisfaction that comes not from possession, but from engagement with something valuable. A woman who is ever present offers comfort, but she rarely provokes reflection. A woman who is selectively present invites contemplation, curiosity, and a quiet admiration that grows in her physical or emotional absence. It is essential to understand that this principle is not about playing games or withholding affection out of fear or insecurity. Absence that amplifies value is grounded in authenticity. It is a reflection of a life that is full of attention given to growth, self-expression, and purpose. A woman who understands this does not disappear out of spite. She steps back because her inner world is rich, and she is not defined by external validation. Her absence is a natural extension of her presence. It is not emptiness, but depth, a space in which others can encounter her significance. In practice, absence can take many forms. It may be physical, a simple matter of spending time apart, allowing each person to engage fully with their own existence. It may also be emotional, a quiet refusal to over-invest in reactive behavior, a composure that communicates self-respect and inner stability. In both cases, the effect is the same. A man begins to recognize that her presence is not merely habitual, but extraordinary. He remembers her gestures, the way she laughed, the way she listened, the moments of connection that now seem more precious because they are not constant. Every interaction gains weight, every exchange resonates more deeply because absence has cleared the noise and left the essence intact. Absence also creates space for anticipation. Desire at its core thrives in intervals, in pauses, in the subtle tension between closeness and distance. When a woman is always available, desire can become dulled, like a string that has been stretched too tightly. But when she allows space, when she cultivates a rhythm in which presence and absence coexist naturally, she restores the tension that makes emotional connection vibrant. He begins to think of her at unexpected moments, to recall conversations, to imagine scenarios where her energy might appear, and in doing so, he becomes emotionally invested even when she is not physically near. This is the paradox of human attachment. We do not always miss what we have, we often miss what we cannot possess fully. absence is not about rejection or withdrawal, but about creating conditions for appreciation to grow. It is about embodying a life that is compelling, independent, and grounded in self-respect. When a woman can do this with grace and consistency, she awakens a longing that is both natural and profound, a desire that is rooted not in superficial attraction, but in recognition of value, in admiration for her wholeness, and in the subtle, irresistible pull of absence amplifying presence. There is a subtle and profound truth in human connection. It is not the physical presence that leaves the deepest mark, but the emotional resonance that lingers long after moments have passed. Men, like all human beings, are drawn not solely to appearances, gestures, or shared activities, but to the way a woman makes them feel at the core of their being. Emotional resonance is the echo of a presence felt even when she is not there. It is the memory of warmth, understanding, and connection that settles into the heart and mind, leaving a trace that cannot be ignored. Physical proximity may bring comfort, but it is emotional depth that creates lasting attachment and genuine longing. Men are particularly sensitive to emotional resonance because it speaks to the parts of them that are rarely voiced or recognized. When a woman listens deeply, without judgment, without haste to respond, she creates a space where he feels truly seen. This is different from simple attention. It is a recognition of his inner world, his thoughts, his fears, his hopes, without the need to change or fix them. In these moments, a woman's presence transcends the physical. Her voice, her gestures, her attentiveness reverberate in ways that do not require proximity. The impact is lasting because it touches the unconscious parts of his psyche that crave validation, understanding, and emotional safety. Emotional resonance is built on authenticity. It cannot be fabricated through charm or superficial effort. It is the byproduct of a woman who is fully aligned with her own feelings and who can, in turn, honor the emotional reality of another. When a woman responds to a man with genuine empathy, when she acknowledges his struggles while maintaining her own composure and boundaries, she creates a gravitational pull that transcends physical presence. He remembers how she made him feel even when she is miles away, because emotional imprint is far more enduring than visual or tactile memory. This resonance is often subtle, almost imperceptible at first, yet it becomes unmistakable over time. A man may recall a simple moment, a conversation where she laughed at his quiet joke, or the way she offered a comforting silence rather than a hasty solution, and these memories accumulate. They are not fleeting, they become anchors, reference points in his emotional landscape. He begins to notice how these experiences contrast with others, how her presence leaves a unique imprint that cannot be replicated. Emotional resonance becomes a form of intimacy that outlasts physical proximity, a connection that travels with him even into solitude, work, or moments of stress. The power of emotional resonance lies in its ability to cultivate longing and reflection without coercion or manipulation. Unlike physical presence, which can be taken for granted, emotional resonance invites contemplation. A man does not need to chase it, he carries it within him, replaying moments of connection, replaying the feelings she evoked, replaying the subtle cues of her attention and care. The memory of being emotionally seen, understood, and respected creates a natural desire to reconnect, not out of obligation, but out of genuine recognition of value. Moreover, emotional resonance often awakens deeper aspects of desire than physical attraction alone can achieve. While physical presence can spark attention and arousal, it is emotional depth that fosters attachment, curiosity, and investment. Men are drawn to women who leave them feeling inspired, challenged, or comforted in ways that surpass surface-level interaction. These women do not need to perform or impress, they simply exist fully, and their emotional authenticity invites reflection and longing. It is in the interplay of vulnerability and strength, warmth and composure, that emotional resonance takes root. Emotional resonance also transforms absence into an opportunity for connection. When a woman is physically apart, her impact remains through the feelings she has cultivated. A message, a memory, or even a fleeting thought of her presence can evoke the same resonance as being together. He does not merely remember what she looks like, he remembers what it felt like to be in her energy, to engage with her attention, to experience her subtle but profound emotional cues. This is why men often miss women who leave emotional imprints more than those who are physically present but emotionally neutral or unavailable. Creating emotional resonance requires a delicate balance of giving and holding. A woman must offer her attention, warmth, and understanding without losing herself in the other person's emotional state. She must be present, yet maintain her boundaries. She must empathize, yet not sacrifice her own inner clarity. It is this equilibrium that makes her unforgettable. Emotional resonance is not about obligation or effort. It is about presence, alignment, and depth. The more a woman embodies these qualities, the more her influence persists beyond physical interactions, echoing quietly in a man's thoughts, shaping his feelings, and deepening his awareness of her value. Ultimately, men miss women who resonate emotionally because these women touch parts of them that are rarely touched by others. Physical presence can be temporary, but emotional resonance becomes woven into the fabric of memory, shaping desires, reflections, and the subtle currents of thought long after interactions have ended. It is an invisible thread connecting them to her energy, her authenticity, and her unique emotional presence, creating a longing that cannot be filled by mere proximity or superficial interaction. The impact of emotional resonance is timeless because it speaks to the human need to feel known, appreciated, and deeply understood. There is a quiet power in subtlety, a form of influence that does not demand attention but instead invites it. Subtlety is the art of being felt more than seen, of leaving impressions rather than explanations, of hinting at depth without revealing the entirety of oneself. Men are naturally drawn to what is partially veiled, to the spaces between words, gestures, and moments. Curiosity is awakened not through overt displays or constant accessibility, but through the gentle, intentional cultivation of mystery. When a woman embraces subtlety, she creates an atmosphere in which desire is stirred not by what is immediately offered, but by what is sensed and imagined, by what is left unsaid yet profoundly understood. Subtlety is not about withholding in a manipulative sense. It is about preserving the integrity of one's own energy, one's own life, and one's own boundaries. A woman who communicates subtly does so because she values herself and the rhythm of her presence. She does not overshare her thoughts, her emotions, or her availability because she understands that the mind and heart of another are engaged most deeply when there is space to wonder, to question, to reflect. Every word she chooses, every glance she allows, every silence she maintains carries weight precisely because it is measured, intentional, and aligned with her inner world. Men are wired to pursue what is not immediately apparent. Subtlety creates intrigue because it activates the imagination, a force far more potent than overt charm or direct attention. When a woman maintains an element of unpredictability in her behavior, she signals to the mind that she cannot be fully possessed or predicted. This unpredictability is not chaos, it is a reflection of authenticity and independence. By holding parts of herself privately, by responding selectively rather than automatically, she encourages curiosity and reflection. He begins to notice patterns, to interpret gestures, to imagine scenarios in which her presence could be experienced, and in doing so, he becomes emotionally engaged without realizing the depth of his own fascination. The subtle woman communicates volumes without saying much. A fleeting smile, a thoughtful pause, a quietly confident tone, all convey layers of meaning that invite attention and reflection. These nuances are absorbed unconsciously, leaving impressions that linger and grow over time. The mind begins to trace back to these subtle cues, replaying them in memory, interpreting them in new contexts, and creating an emotional resonance that extends far beyond immediate interactions. It is in the small, understated gestures that curiosity is sparked, because the mind senses there is more to explore, more to understand, and more to uncover. Curiosity is a powerful force in desire because it allows engagement without pressure. When a woman is overt in her efforts to capture attention, the experience becomes transactional. He knows what to expect, and the mind ceases to explore. Subtlety, by contrast, invites the mind into an ongoing process of discovery. Every interaction becomes layered, every moment imbued with potential meaning. He begins to seek her presence not because he is obligated, not because she demands it, but because his own imagination has been stirred and his attention engaged. He begins to remember her words, her gestures, and even the silences between them, long after they have passed. Subtlety also fosters respect. A woman who is subtle demonstrates mastery over her own energy and attention. She is not reactive to every stimulus. She does not chase validation or approval. Instead, she engages on her own terms, preserving her autonomy while offering glimpses of connection. This approach naturally cultivates admiration because it signals inner strength, confidence, and emotional stability. Men respect what cannot be easily taken for granted, and subtlety ensures that presence is earned rather than assumed. When combined with authenticity, subtlety is irresistible because it reflects both independence and engagement in balance. The power of subtlety lies in its ability to create a slow, burning attraction. It does not ignite a fleeting spark, it fosters a quiet, persistent awareness that grows over time. Men are compelled to think, to reflect, and to anticipate, because subtlety engages curiosity at multiple levels: intellectual, emotional, and sensory. It is the gentle art of being present without overwhelming, of signaling interest without demanding, of inviting connection without controlling it. In this space, desire flourishes naturally, curiosity becomes a form of pursuit, and emotional investment develops organically. Moreover, subtlety allows a woman to maintain her dignity while still being compelling. She is not defined by the reactions of others, nor does she rely on external attention for validation. Instead, her energy is internally coherent and self-contained, which paradoxically draws others in. Men are attracted to what feels rare, authentic, and slightly elusive, not because of games, but because the human mind is naturally drawn to exploration, to what is partially hidden, and to what requires engagement to be fully understood. Subtlety ensures that every interaction carries depth, every exchange resonates, and every moment becomes memorable. Subtlety creates curiosity because it is a reflection of wholeness. A woman who embodies this principle is fully alive in her own right, and her presence invites engagement without desperation. She communicates through nuance, presence, and intention, allowing men to explore, imagine, and remember her in ways that physical attention alone cannot achieve. Her quiet influence lingers, not through overt force or manipulation, but through the resonance of her authenticity and the spaces she intentionally leaves for curiosity to flourish. Confidence is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can possess, not because it demands attention or asserts dominance, but because it quietly signals self-sufficiency, authenticity, and inner alignment. It is the kind of confidence that is rooted not in ego, performance, or approval, but in a profound understanding of one's own worth and boundaries. When a woman embodies this form of confidence, it creates an emotional pull that cannot be fabricated or forced. Men are instinctively drawn to women who operate from a place of self-assurance because confidence communicates that she is whole, capable, and not reliant on external validation. In other words, her value is inherent, and this recognition awakens a desire that is both respectful and deep. Confidence triggers emotional pull because it reflects stability. A woman who is grounded in herself does not react impulsively to every shift in attention or circumstance. She is not shaken by silence, by distance, or by challenges, because her sense of self does not depend on constant reassurance. This stability is magnetic because it allows a man to relax in her presence while also fostering subtle intrigue. He recognizes that her energy is not contingent upon his actions, yet he cannot help but be drawn to it. The emotional pull arises not from neediness or drama, but from the quiet power of a woman who occupies her own space with grace and clarity. Men are naturally drawn to what they perceive as valuable, and confidence signals precisely that. When a woman moves through the world with poise, when she expresses her desires without apology, and when she maintains her own life while inviting connection, she communicates worth in a way that words alone cannot achieve. Emotional pull is created because her confidence suggests that engagement with her is a privilege, not an entitlement. This dynamic sparks curiosity, desire, and attention not through pressure or manipulation, but through the simple, profound effect of presence aligned with self-respect. The effect of confidence on emotional pull is often subtle yet enduring. Men notice it in the way she carries herself, in the tone of her voice, in the choices she makes that reflect independence and discernment. These signals are absorbed unconsciously, and they shape the perception of value without overt declarations or effortful displays. Confidence communicates that she is secure enough to allow others to engage with her authentically, yet discerning enough to maintain her own integrity. This balance creates a gravitational pull that is felt emotionally before it is consciously understood. Confidence also amplifies emotional resonance because it is intertwined with self-awareness. A woman who understands her own emotional landscape is able to connect with others without losing herself in the process. She is present, attentive, and engaged, but not reactive or dependent. This allows her to create interactions that are deeply felt, memorable, and influential. Men sense this alignment instinctively. They recognize when a woman's energy is complete and unfractured, and they are drawn to it because it signals emotional safety, maturity, and authenticity. The pull is not merely physical or superficial, it operates on a profound emotional level, anchoring desire in respect, admiration, and curiosity. Confidence triggers emotional pull because it is rare. Many people operate from need, insecurity, or dependence, creating relationships that are transactional or reactive. A confident woman, by contrast, operates from self-sufficiency. She does not chase attention, she does not over-explain, and she does not compromise her values to be liked or accepted. This independence is magnetic because it contrasts sharply with the habitual dynamics of pursuit and validation. Men notice the difference, often unconsciously, and they are drawn to it with a mixture of intrigue, admiration, and desire. Emotional pull arises not from what she says or does in overt terms, but from the energy she carries consistently and authentically. Moreover, confidence allows a woman to navigate emotional distance with grace. She does not cling when he withdraws. She does not overextend when attention wanes. Instead, she maintains her equilibrium, her life, and her focus on what truly matters. This composure is deeply attractive because it reflects mastery over the self and over emotional states. It signals that connection with her is meaningful and earned, not automatic or unexamined. The pull she creates is thus both stabilizing and compelling, encouraging reflection, investment, and longing rather than obligation or reaction. The emotional pull generated by confidence is also subtle in its rhythm. It is not loud, forceful, or demanding. It flows naturally from presence, self-assurance, and alignment with one's own values. Men are drawn not because they are pressured or coerced, but because the energy of confidence resonates with their own desires for authenticity, respect, and connection. The mind and heart respond simultaneously. The mind recognizes value, the heart responds emotionally, and the combination creates a compelling force of attraction that persists even in absence. Ultimately, confidence triggers emotional pull because it communicates wholeness. A woman who is confident does not seek to fill gaps in her identity through others. She offers herself fully and intentionally. She creates space for connection without compromising her essence. Men miss this presence because it is rare, complete, and emotionally resonant. Her confidence invites engagement, admiration, and desire without chasing or pleading, and it plants seeds of longing that grow naturally over time. There is a subtle, often invisible force at play in human connection, one that operates beneath the level of conscious thought, unconscious emotional triggers. These are the signals, patterns, and nuances that stir desire, longing, and attachment in ways that are almost imperceptible yet profoundly influential. Men, like all humans, respond not only to what is overt, but to what resonates deeply within their psyche. A woman who understands and embodies qualities that engage these unconscious triggers creates a presence that lingers far beyond the immediate moment. She leaves impressions that the mind cannot always explain and the heart cannot easily forget. Unconscious emotional triggers are often rooted in the early imprints of experience, in patterns of recognition and familiarity that the mind associates with comfort, safety, excitement, or intrigue. These triggers do not require a woman to perform or consciously manipulate. They exist naturally in the ways she expresses her energy, her attention, and her presence. A simple gesture, a tone of voice, a fleeting expression of empathy, or even a subtle alignment with his rhythm can awaken memories, desires, and emotional responses that he is not fully aware of. This is why men can be drawn to certain women without understanding why. They are responding to the echoes of resonance embedded in their unconscious mind. One of the most powerful unconscious triggers is emotional contrast. Men are often attuned to women who offer a balance of warmth and independence, engagement and mystery, closeness and autonomy. When a woman expresses genuine care while maintaining her own boundaries, she creates a tension that is both comforting and stimulating. This contrast awakens unconscious recognition. He experiences both the pleasure of connection and the allure of pursuit simultaneously. It is this delicate interplay that creates a sense of intrigue, deep emotional involvement, and a desire that persists beyond immediate interactions. Another form of unconscious trigger is authenticity. Men are innately drawn to women who express themselves without pretense or performance. Authenticity signals emotional stability, clarity, and alignment between inner and outer states. When a woman is consistent in her energy, when her words, actions, and presence reflect her true self, she unconsciously communicates safety and reliability. This encourages a man to invest emotionally because his mind and heart sense that connection with her is genuine and meaningful. The unconscious mind is finely attuned to subtle inconsistencies, and authenticity acts as a magnet precisely because it bypasses rational scrutiny and speaks directly to emotional intuition. Playfulness and unpredictability are also potent unconscious triggers. A woman who can engage with lightness, humor, and spontaneity creates an emotional environment that stimulates curiosity and anticipation. The unconscious mind responds to patterns of unpredictability because it is wired to seek novelty, excitement, and reward. These qualities do not require grand gestures. They manifest in small, thoughtful actions: a teasing remark, a playful challenge, a shared joke, or a moment of unexpected insight. Such moments linger in memory and imagination, reinforcing attachment and emotional engagement long after the interaction has ended. Subtle cues of attunement also serve as unconscious triggers. When a woman mirrors a man's emotional rhythm, responds to his unspoken needs, or intuitively navigates his moods, she creates a sense of being understood on a level that bypasses words. This kind of resonance activates deep emotional patterns associated with recognition, validation, and connection. Men remember these moments because they feel seen and acknowledged in a way that is rare and meaningful. The emotional imprint created is lasting because it engages unconscious circuits that associate her presence with safety, excitement, and fulfillment. Unconscious emotional triggers are further amplified by restraint and non-reactivity. A woman who maintains her composure, who does not overreact to distance, silence, or minor emotional fluctuations, communicates strength and self-possession. Her energy becomes a stabilizing force, yet one that invites engagement and curiosity. The unconscious mind perceives this as a sign of value and reliability, creating an attraction that is simultaneously emotional and cognitive. Men are drawn to the equilibrium she embodies, often without consciously recognizing why. Her presence resonates on multiple levels, and the pull she creates is persistent because it engages the mind, heart, and intuition simultaneously. The power of unconscious emotional triggers lies in their subtlety and depth. They are not reliant on deliberate effort or visible gestures. Instead, they emerge from the consistent alignment of presence, authenticity, empathy, and attunement. A woman who embodies these qualities becomes unforgettable because she engages multiple layers of perception, conscious, emotional, and unconscious, creating a resonance that persists even in her absence. Men miss such women not because of what is obvious, but because their presence has left traces within the very structure of emotional memory, traces that stir reflection, longing, and desire long after interactions have ended. Ultimately, unconscious emotional triggers remind us that attraction and connection are far more complex than mere physical presence or verbal communication. They operate in the realm of subtle energy, emotional nuance, and internal resonance. A woman who understands this principle does not need to chase attention or force engagement. Her influence flows naturally from the depth of her being, her alignment with her own emotions, and her attunement to the subtle dynamics of interaction. In doing so, she awakens patterns of recognition and desire that operate quietly yet powerfully, creating a magnetic pull that endures because it touches the very foundations of emotional experience. There is a subtle power in non-reactive presence, a quality that is rarely understood yet profoundly magnetic. Non-reactive presence is the ability to remain grounded, composed, and centered in one's own energy, regardless of external circumstances, emotional fluctuations, or the behaviors of others. It is not indifference or emotional suppression. It is mastery over one's inner state, a clarity of mind and heart that allows a woman to engage without losing herself in the reactions of those around her. Men are drawn to this quality because it communicates stability, strength, and depth, qualities that cannot be replicated through overt charm, attention-seeking, or dramatics. A woman who embodies non-reactive presence becomes a touchstone, a quiet force that evokes reflection, admiration, and longing, precisely because her energy is steady and unshakable. Non-reactive presence is magnetic because it demonstrates emotional autonomy. A woman who does not chase, overact, or collapse into others' expectations signals that her sense of self is complete and self-contained. This does not mean she lacks compassion or engagement. Rather, She interacts from a place of inner alignment where her emotions are guided by awareness and intention rather than impulse or fear. Men notice this on a subtle level. Her calmness in the face of tension, her ability to maintain dignity amidst conflict, and her capacity to respond rather than react communicate a profound sense of value and stability. When a woman is non-reactive, she invites reflection rather than demand, curiosity rather than immediate satisfaction, and connection that is both deeper and more enduring. The appeal of non-reactive presence is rooted in the psychology of desire. Men are instinctively attracted to emotional equilibrium because it offers safety and predictability without diminishing intrigue. When a woman remains composed in moments of challenge or uncertainty, she demonstrates that her attention and energy are not granted automatically, they are conscious choices. This triggers a subtle, unconscious recognition of value. He perceives that engagement with her is meaningful, not trivial, and that her presence carries weight and significance. The emotional pull she creates is not manufactured. It arises naturally from the alignment of her inner state and the clarity with which she communicates it through behavior, tone, and energy. Non-reactive presence also fosters longing. When a woman does not overinvest in a man's attention, when she allows space for reflection rather than immediate gratification, he is given the opportunity to consider her worth, her depth, and the value of her presence. Absence and composure work together in harmony as he encounters her grounded energy. He is drawn not by urgency, but by curiosity and respect. The mind begins to replay her actions, the heart recalls the stability she radiates, and emotional investment grows organically. Non-reactive presence transforms ordinary interactions into emotionally resonant experiences because it communicates that connection is a conscious, intentional choice rather than a reactive response to circumstance or desire. This quality also nurtures trust and respect. Men recognize when a woman's behavior is consistent, reliable, and unshaken by volatility. Trust is cultivated not through words alone, but through repeated demonstration of stability and presence. When a woman remains non-reactive, she signals that she is emotionally mature, self-aware, and capable of handling both closeness and distance without losing herself. This inspires admiration and attachment because he experiences her as a constant amidst the fluctuations of life, someone whose presence is meaningful and whose absence is felt, not because of drama, but because of the subtle, undeniable weight of her grounded energy. Non-reactive presence is further enhanced by conscious attention to self-alignment. A woman who cultivates awareness of her emotions, thoughts, and desires can engage fully with others without being consumed by their emotional states. She listens deeply, responds thoughtfully, and maintains her boundaries without resistance or defensiveness. This equilibrium is magnetic because it mirrors qualities that men unconsciously seek: clarity, emotional intelligence, and the ability to navigate life with composure. Her non-reactivity is not coldness, it is a reflection of inner strength that allows connection to flourish organically, without pressure or force. Another aspect of non-reactive presence is its capacity to create space for longing and reflection. When a woman does not overact to distance, silence, or emotional withdrawal, she allows a man to confront his own feelings and desires. He is given the opportunity to recognize her value, to reflect on what he misses, and to consider the depth of connection they share. Non-reactivity cultivates patience, curiosity, and appreciation because her energy is steady and intentional, inviting engagement rather than demanding it. Emotional attachment grows in the gaps of space and time because the woman's presence is not merely physical or transactional, but deeply aligned with her inner self. Non-reactive presence is also profoundly attractive because it conveys mastery without effort. A woman does not need to perform, plead, or chase. Her energy is sufficient, compelling, and influential on its own. Men are drawn to this because it communicates a rare kind of value, one that is not contingent on their actions, yet deeply responsive to genuine engagement. The unconscious mind is captivated by stability paired with authenticity, curiosity paired with composure, and engagement paired with autonomy. These contrasts create a magnetic pull that is subtle yet relentless, a force that encourages reflection, longing, and emotional connection even when interaction is minimal. Ultimately, non-reactive presence demonstrates that emotional connection is most powerful when it arises from alignment rather than reaction. A woman who embodies this quality does not need to manipulate or persuade. Her energy resonates naturally, creating attraction, admiration, and desire through the quiet mastery of her inner state. Men miss her presence not because she demands it, but because she offers it selectively, consistently, and authentically, leaving a lasting imprint on both the heart and mind.